If you walked into an Aussie car dealership right now and asked about Utes, you might be surprised by what you find sitting on that lot. Not one, not two, but rows of Utes that dealers are quietly desperate to sell. And the reasons why are more interesting than you think. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could actually save you thousands of dollars if you're in the market for a new Ute right now. Welcome back to the Drive Intel, the channel where we break down the real stories behind the Australian car market, so you always know what's actually going on before you make your next big purchase. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because we put out content like this regularly, content that saves you money and helps you make smarter decisions. And if you're already part of our community, thank you so much for being here. Hit that like button to help more Aussies find this video because honestly, this information is something every UT buyer needs to hear. So let's talk about what's really happening out there. The Australian Ute market has been one of the most competitive and exciting segments in the country for years. Utes are not just work vehicles anymore, they're lifestyle vehicles, family haulers, weekend adventure machines. Australians love their Utes. The Ford Ranger and Toyota HiLux have been fighting for the top sales spot for years. The market has exploded with new options from brands all over the world. But here's the thing, more options don't always mean more sales. Right now in 2025, certain Utes are piling up on dealership forecourts, and dealers are getting nervous. Incentives are being quietly offered. Discounts are being whispered about. And if you know which Utes these are, you are in a seriously powerful negotiating position. So let's get into it. The first Ute that dealers are really struggling to move right now is the GWM Cannon. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because GWM, which stands for Great Wall Motors, has been pushing hard into the Australian market over the past few years. The Cannon looked like a solid entry when it launched. It was priced competitively, it had a decent diesel engine, and it came loaded with features that were hard to argue with at that price point. But the problem is that the market has shifted dramatically around it. The competition from established names like Ford, Toyota, and even newer players like LDV and Isuzu has made the Cannon feel a little lost in the crowd. Buyers who might have been interested are now looking more carefully at resale value, and that's where the Cannon starts to hurt. Resale value for Chinese branded vehicles in Australia is still a real concern for mainstream buyers, even if the vehicles themselves have improved significantly in quality. Dealers are sitting on stock and having real conversations about what kind of discount it takes to get someone across the line. If you're open to the idea and you're not worried about resale, this could genuinely be a situation where you walk in and walk out with a very attractive deal. The key is to do your research, get a pre-purchase inspection, and negotiate hard, because right now the power is absolutely in your hands. The second Ute on this list is one that might surprise a few people, and that's the Volkswagen Amarok. Now, before anyone jumps into the comments, hear me out. The Amarok is genuinely a brilliant Ute. The new generation Amarok, which shares its platform with the Ford Ranger, is well-built, refined, premium, and genuinely impressive to drive. So why are dealers struggling to move it? The answer is price. The Amarok has positioned itself at the premium end of the Ute market. And while it absolutely has the quality to justify that, Australian Ute buyers are traditionally very value conscious. When you're looking at an Amarok and comparing it to a similarly spec'd Ranger or a top-spec HiLux, and the Amarok comes in noticeably more expensive, a lot of buyers just walk away. The dealer margin on premium vehicles is often higher, which means there is room to negotiate, and dealers who have been holding stock for a while are becoming increasingly motivated to make a deal happen. If the Amarok is your dream Ute, and you've been watching it from the sidelines because of the price, now might honestly be the best time to go have that conversation. The third Ute causing headaches for dealers is the LDV T60 Max. LDV has been trying to establish itself as a legitimate player in the Australian Ute market. They've made some real progress. The T60 Max has solid specs on paper. It's priced below the mainstream competition, and it comes with a decent warranty. But the issue is very similar to what we talked about with the GWM Cannon. Brand trust. LDV is owned by SAC Motor, a Chinese state-owned automotive company, and while the brand has loyal fans, it's still fighting an uphill battle with a significant portion of the buying public. Fleet buyers have been a stronger audience for LDV, but private buyers remain cautious. Add to this the fact that the T60 Max faces very stiff competition from the Isuzu D-Max, the Mazda BT50, and even the Mitsubishi Triton at similar price points, and you can see why dealers are feeling the pressure. The T60 Max needs to work harder to justify itself, and right now, with stock sitting on lots, dealers are willing to throw in accessories, extended warranties, and meaningful price reductions to close a sale. Again, if you're a savvy buyer who does your homework and isn't brand loyal, this is where real money can be saved. Now we're getting into even more interesting territory. The fourth Ute on this list is the Nissan Navara. And this one genuinely stings a little bit because the Navara has a long and proud history in Australia. It was a respected workhorse for years, but the market has evolved, and the Navara hasn't quite kept up in the way that buyers are now expecting. The current generation Navara, while capable and dependable, feels a little dated compared to the Ranger and HiLux in terms of technology, interior quality, and driving dynamics. Nissan hasn't had the biggest marketing push either, and the brand has been going through some global challenges that have affected how it's perceived in the Australian market. Fleet sales have helped prop up the numbers, but on the retail side, getting private buyers excited about the Navara in 2025 is genuinely tough for dealers. There are some solid deals to be had here if you're after a reliable, proven workhorse without all the bells and whistles, and you don't need to be at the cutting edge of technology. Dealers are motivated, the Navara is reliable, and the pricing conversations are very much open right now. The fifth ute that's genuinely piling up is the Mitsubishi Triton. Now, this one might raise some eyebrows because the Triton has traditionally been a decent seller, but here's what's happening. Mitsubishi released the new generation Triton not too long ago, and while it got a lot of attention at launch, that initial buzz has settled down, and the Triton finds itself in a very crowded middle market. It's not as affordable as the Chinese branded options, not as aspirational as the Amarok or even the top-spec Ranger Wildtrak or HiLux Rogue, and it's competing directly with the D-Max and BT50, which share a platform and have built up very strong reputations for reliability. The Triton is a perfectly good ute. It truly is. But in a market where buyers have more choice than ever, being perfectly good just doesn't cut through the noise the way it used to. Dealers who ordered healthy stock based on launch excitement are now sitting with more units than they'd like, and that means there are real deals to be had. If the Triton fits your lifestyle and your budget range, go in and negotiate confidently, because the landscape is very much in your favor right now. And the sixth ute, the one rounding out this list, is actually one that a lot of people might not even think of immediately, and that's the Ford Ranger Raptor. Now wait, before you click away thinking this is crazy, let me explain. The standard Ford Ranger is Australia's best-selling vehicle. It's an absolute giant of the market. But the Raptor is a very different animal. It's the performance off-road variant, it's priced significantly higher, and while it has an incredibly passionate fan base, the fan base is smaller than the mainstream Ranger buyers. The Raptor has been sitting in a strange spot lately. The initial excitement of the performance ute segment has cooled slightly, and at its price point, buyers are starting to compare it to actual SUVs and lifestyle vehicles that offer similar adventure credentials. Some dealers who ordered heavily on the Raptor are finding that moving each unit takes longer and requires more work than they anticipated. This doesn't mean the Raptor isn't a fantastic machine, because it absolutely is. It means that if you've been eyeing one, this might be a moment where you can negotiate some extras, accessories, or service packages that you wouldn't have gotten when demand was at its peak. So what does all of this actually mean for you as a buyer? Here's the big picture. The Australian ute market is going through a fascinating transition. There are more options than ever before. Pricing pressure is real. Interest rates have affected buyer confidence. And the brands that were riding high on supply shortages just a few years ago are now dealing with a very different reality. Dealers are motivated. Stock is available. And the negotiating power has shifted back to you, the buyer, in a way that we haven't really seen in a few years. At the Drive Intel, we always say that knowledge is your best negotiating tool. When you walk into a dealership knowing which models have been sitting the longest, which brands are under pressure, and what the real market dynamics look like, you are walking in with an advantage that most buyers simply don't have. You don't need to be aggressive or rude. You just need to be informed. Ask the right questions. Take your time. Let the salesperson know you're shopping around. And be willing to walk away if the deal doesn't feel right. Because right now, the deal you walk away from might just follow you home at a better price. There are a few practical tips worth mentioning here as well. Always get the out-the-road price in writing before you start celebrating a deal. Check the dealer demo vehicles, because they're often sold at meaningful discounts and have low kilometers. Look at end-of-month and end-of-quarter timing when dealers are chasing targets and more willing to negotiate. And don't overlook the accessories and after-sales packages as negotiating chips, because things like tow bars, bed liners, floor mats, and extended warranties can add real value to your deal, even if the sticker price doesn't move as much as you'd like. The ute market in Australia is not going to stay in this position forever. As economic conditions shift, as new models arrive, and as some of these brands find their footing, the window of opportunity for buyers will narrow again. So if you've been thinking about a new ute, whether it's for work, for family, or for adventure on the weekends, the time to be having those conversations with dealers is right now. This is the kind of content we live for here at the Drive Intel, breaking down the real market story so you can make decisions that actually serve your interests. If you found this video useful, please drop a comment down below and let us know which ute you're currently considering, or which one surprised you the most on this list. We genuinely love reading your comments, and they help us understand what content to make for you next. And if you know someone who's in the market for a Ute right now, please share this video with them, because this information could genuinely save them thousands of dollars and a lot of frustration. It only takes a second to share, and it means the world to us when you do. Don't forget to like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Drive Intel so you never miss a breakdown like this one. We'll see you in the next one.